Welcome to Back to School Night. This is designed to give a presentation to those who can't make it on Thursday or maybe need to review some of the slides. So this is the entire presentation that you'll get, just set up in more of a video form. So basic info, there I am with my beautiful family in the corner. My name is Mike Zanzano. I've been in the district for 18 years. My wife actually teaches here as well. She came over with me from Rancho Madonna Junior High, so some of your kids might have actually had her. I have 2 kids right there, a dog and 2 cats. They want us to include a little bit about ourselves, so my favorite sports teams are Manchester City Football Club, Golden State Warriors, 49ers, Giants. My favorite color is black, and here's my little brag point. For the last 6 CAS testing windows, I was on the team who scored the highest amongst all the other junior high schools in Pittsburgh. So here are our CAS scores. So this is what we're talking about. ELA got 41% if you round up. Hillview, 33%, and MLK, 36%. Now we're just doing English. This is from the scores that were taken this past May. So as you can see, we're pretty excited about the 41%, but 41% still means 59% of the kids did not hit proficiency. And when we start looking at where they're not hitting proficiency, a lot of it comes from gaps, from holes that they might have in 6th grade or 7th grade, or even some from elementary school. So the goal here is to fill in those gaps as we go on with the school year and make sure that the kids are prepared for English 2, English 3, English 4, and eventually graduation. So that way they don't have anything to really worry about. But the truth is, and this is going to sound a little harsh, some kids are not ready for high school. Junior high school is past you no matter what. So you fail everything in 6th grade, they move you to 7th grade. You fail everything in 7th grade, they move you to 8th grade. And so you have to ask yourself, when was the last time your student passed ELA with a score that you were happy with, that they were happy with? Hopefully it was last year. They did great in 8th grade and they moved on, and so we're good to go. But if it is further back than that, then we got to make sure that they are prepared. One of the big ones is every class that do not pass, they have to make up those credits in other years. They have to pass all 4 years of English. We have a long, long road ahead. The high school works on a semester system, and their 2 major reporting times are in December and June. So there's going to be a long time between where we get to the very first report card, which is in December. So their grades are going to change. They're going to be fluid throughout. So don't freak out about minor changes. But also be aware that we give them an opportunity to make what they have to do. So what I mean by that is, if they're not doing great in August, then they can do better in September. If they're not doing great in September, they can do better in October. And we can keep moving and moving along that path. But we want to make sure that they're aware of their grades, so they know what work they have to do. So there is an old saying, can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So there's only so much that I can do as your child's teacher. We need to work together to make sure that everything is going according to plan. They'll need to get encouragement from home, they'll need it from school, and they'll need it constantly when they go through this transition. The school is huge, 3,400 kids. There's so much to do, so many places to go. A lot of it can be overwhelming. So some of the grades that'll dip will just be from the natural getting used to this place. If your kid wants to pass, and I use the word decide in there on purpose, if they decide to pass, because it has to be a conscious decision at that point, I will do whatever I can to help them get there. If they decide that they don't want to work, I can't do anything to change that mindset without your help. So I need you to help me get them to work, and I'll be there to help get them back on track, but it's got to come from both sides. It can't just come from me. Worst case scenario, they don't pass. If the student doesn't pass the semester, they have the following 3 options. They can retake a class in summer school. 1 block of summer school equals a semester. They can attend evening school, which is 3:45 to 6:15. It's 2 nights a week, and it equals a semester. Now, they're not eligible for it now, but in the spring, if it's offered, they would be. And then they can take the class during an elective block in the upper grades. We do have freshman classes that have 12th grade students in it, because they have to make up those credits. And so we want to make sure that they don't get to that point. On the first day of school, the kids repeated these 3 things because we wanted them to understand that this is for real, that this is one of those things where the metaphor I like to use with my kids is that junior high school is like preseason. So you play the game. If you do well, that's great. If you don't do well, you still move on and you still can play in the actual game. High school is the actual game. So if they're not doing well, it's going to cost them. So we want to make sure we get ahead of it first to stop it from ever happening, instead of having to go back and trying to figure out how they're going to make it up. It is difficult to fail this class. I do everything I can to keep the kids accountable, but still flexible to make sure they keep up with the work. If they don't decide to work, though, there isn't much I can do other than tell them to get back to work and try to remind them. But if they decide not to, there's nothing I can do. We all have kids already who they look like they're working. You walk by, their computers are on, they look like they're on the assignment, but the work never comes back. And so when I say that they're deciding not to work, they're deciding not to finish it, not to turn it in even if they're working on it in class. So if they need help, I'm always available during class, during the independent times, but they can also come see me at brunch or by appointment. So they can make an appointment with me if they need a little bit more to see, or they can swing by during brunch if it's just a quick question. Teenagers will ebb and flow, meaning that there are some good times, there are some loose times. You know that as a parent, as a guardian, so we just got to keep them on the path, because we'll have good nights and we'll have bad nights, just like we'll have good times in school and we'll have times where we got to push a little bit further. Now, they need their school-issued Chromebook. The Chromebook was given to them at registration. If they don't have it, there are QR codes around the school. They could just simply scan with their cameras on their phones. It takes them to the form to fill out. It says, hey, I need a Chromebook. I've loaded that form into Google Classroom that they can access from anything. So they can access from a home computer, from their cell phones, even from video game systems with a browser. We'll load it and take a look at it. So make sure that it's requested. Make sure they bring it charged every day, and then more importantly, make sure they have their chargers. If they have a charger, we can load them somewhere in the room. We'll put them somewhere to plug it in. But if they don't, there's nothing much we can do. They don't have extra chargers to lend them. I would say this, though. They are expected to grab a piece of paper and start working if they don't have their stuff with them. So they can submit it in Google Classroom on their own time. They just go into the Google Doc and they upload it. So uploaded photos of their assignments won't count. They got to go home. They got to type it in, or maybe in another class if their stuff was dead or charging somewhere else, and they can upload it. If they're having tech issues, they need to tell me, because if it is a major tech issue, like, hey, the library doesn't have any more Chromebooks to give me, we can excuse some of the late credit. But I don't know if you don't tell me. So make sure that they're communicating that stuff with me. Face masks, I know this is a little touchy subject. They're optional this year. They can decide to wear them, not to wear them. I have kids who wear them one day and not the other, so it is up to them whether they wear them, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows they are optional this year. Parent Square. Parent Square is a big thing. It is the communication portal for parents. So all parents are expected to use Parent Square to get a hold of me, just like I'm expected to use Parent Square to get a hold of you. So it is located in Aries portal. So if you open up Aries on a computer, if you hit the communication button, it'll take you to Parent Square. You can also download an app where you can sign in with your information and go through there. If you need your Aries account, the students' counselors and parent coordinators can help set up if needed. You can shoot me a quick email. I can forward it to the right person who will get back to you and set it up. Now, for communication during the school day, I will answer by the end of the school day. After the school day, so after about 4 o'clock, if you send me messages, they'll be answered the next day. Nothing's going to get answered over holidays, staff development days, and long breaks because the access to it isn't really there. So they'll be answered the next school day. So please make sure you reach out to me, but kind of pay attention to when those are being reached out to. Google Classroom, everything is done through Google Classroom this year, so all the work is going to be done in there. It's all done via Google Docs and through Clever and everything that they can get completed. So we don't want them to lose that skill that they gained over the last couple of years of using the technology and getting that stuff together. So they have the Chromebooks provided from the school. We're going to use all those pieces, but their grades are going to be in Aries gradebook. So you got to make sure you check Aries for their grades. Like I said, they move up and down, and so this is where you can double check and make sure that you keep track of it. Now, the late policy, this is important because this might be different than what you're used to. The students have 3 days to turn in an assignment past the due date. So if an assignment is due Monday, for example, then it can still be turned in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it's 3 days past the due date. They just lose 15% off their total score. So if they would have gotten 100%, it drops to 85, it's a B, it's simple. Now, it's important to remind the students that if they didn't get 100%, so let's say they left some questions blank and they only got a 74%, then we take 15% off of that and the grade drops. So it's important that if they're going to turn in something late, that they make sure it's completed and done. Late assignments are going to happen, late games are going to happen, appointments are going to happen. It's really not a huge deal. They just got to make sure they complete the whole thing before they submit it so they get the maximum amount of points. Now, after the third day of class, so in our example, we went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So on that Friday, the assignment would expire. And so in Aries, you're going to see a little orange box, and that orange box is going to indicate that there's an assignment missing. So you can catch up with your child and ask them what's going on. But once you see those orange boxes, that assignment cannot be made up. So once it expires, it's done. So we got to make sure that we get everything turned in before we get to that point. Students with IEPs and 504s with extra time provisions will not receive late deductions, but they will expire after 4 days. Required materials. So here are the 5 things I need them to have. The unit text, which we will check out. We're actually checking them out Monday, so they'll have that ready to go. A Chromebook, which again is provided from the school. They need to have a personal novel. So it has to have a novel that they're reading. It can be any kind of reading right now that they want to do. So anything that'll interest them. They can check out a book from me. They can check out a book from the library. They can read a material online if they have something they've read before. I just want to get them reading. I want to build the fluency and I want to build the stamina going through and reading at each one of those pieces. Writing utensils, binder paper, notebook, they've got to make sure that they have those things. If they don't have their Chromebook, they're expected to keep working. Or if they have rare occasions like annotations where they'll have assignments on paper, they have to have those things. And then a folder with a pocket, just so that way they can keep track of all their stuff. The grading policy falls under this umbrella. 40% classwork. Most of the stuff done in class is there. The only homework they'll really have is anything they don't finish in class. Tests, 30%. So that falls under that. Essays, those kind of things. Reading logs, 10%. They have a reading log due every other week. The first one is due Friday the 26th. So it's important that they have it. They have 2 weeks to get it done. So it was given out the first week of school. We're now going into the last one. So make sure they get that in. It's 10% of their grade. Annotations are done on paper. They must be checked on in person. They're currently working on annotations right now so they can explain to you. There's also examples of what to do and how to do it in Google Classroom. And then the do nows. Those are questions done every day. 5%, easy 5% to pad your grade, and that's how we go with that. Now, absences. If your kid is absent, they need to keep up with the work electronically. Everything is put in electronically. Anything that is not put in electronically, there is a note to let them know where they can get it, or they can get it upon their return. Stuff is still due. So if a child is gone on Thursday, the work that is assigned Thursday will still be due on Friday. If it is something major medical, so they had to go to the hospital or they had to go to the doctor or anything like that, please let me know. Those are exceptions that we will make. So if you give me a call and say, hey, or there's something goes on, or an email or through Parent Square and say, hey, this is what's going on, we will be flexible. But if the kid's at home because it didn't feel good on a Thursday but back on a Friday, we want to make sure that they have that. Now, the late policy does kick in for this. So if there's something really going on and they have to stay home, or maybe they had to miss because they were at a game the night before that was really late and didn't want to get up for school, they can catch up with that late policy and they can get a maximum amount of points. So make sure that you're keeping track and checking Google Classroom as they go. Lastly, this is the important people that you might need to talk to. Their AP is Mrs. Belici Webb. So this is her email as well as her phone number if you have to get a hold of her. Anything discipline, anything going on really with your kid in the 9th grade, she's going to be the point person to talk to. Any concerns you might have, any issues that you might have, she's going to be there for you. They're counselors. So there's 2 9th grade counselors. There's one from A through LE for their last names. Miss Jenkins is one, and there is her information. Miss Rivas is the other, so they're there. So you can call either one of them if you have any issues with academics or classes that you want to get through. And of course, you can always reach out to me through Parent Square. I will happily forward the message wherever it needs to go, or let them know if you weren't sure who to talk to or who to handle it. And the kids can always access me through Google Classroom. So they can make sure they can send me messages, they can send me emails as well, and we will answer those promptly. Okay, so I look forward to a great school year, and any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out.